on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Tonight, obstacles removed. Provincial Council and Local Government Ministry finally paves the way for mini polls. Making a new constitution. Constitutional Assembly met for the third consecutive day and extended the debate for another day. Passing the ball. Joint opposition urges the government as they could bring amendments even at the last minute. Budget 2018. Economists call for increase in fixed capital formation and enterprise growth in the country.
A fixed capital formation plays a big role in driving economic activity and generating further revenue for the government.
And in international headlines, the deadliest attack in the US since 9/11 kills 8. A full report from New York coming up. Good evening to all our viewers across Sri Lanka and around the world. Thanks for making us a part of your evening. Welcome to First at 9. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First, we want to begin tonight with the latest release by the Chairman of the Elections Commission and the local government elections. Before that, Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faisal Mustafa today signed the Gazette notification required to hold the local government elections under the new electoral system. The Minister said the Gazette notification will be sent to the Department of Government Printing tonight.
Gazette notification pertaining to the number of members for local government institutions was signed at the Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government today by the subject minister. Following the new delimitations, the total number of local government bodies will now be increased from 336 to 341. With the addition of Polonnaruwa Municipal Council, the total number of municipal councils have now increased from 23 to 24, while the number of urban councils remain the same at 41. The number of Pradeshiya Sabhas have increased from 272 to 276, with the new additions of Agrapatana, Kotagala, Maskeliya and Norwood. Along with the increase to local government bodies, the number of members have also increased from 4,486 to 8,356. Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faisal Mustafa held a media briefing today after the Gazette was signed.
All my responsibilities with regards to these elections are now over. It took 3 years to submit the delimitation report because the previous government took 2 years to work on it. The report was finalised once President Maithripala Sirisena was appointed. Mahinda Deshapriya is one of the most independent and public-friendly election commission chairman. But I should add that he sometimes has a tendency to stray from the path. The President and Prime Minister promised to establish a separate Pradeshiya Sabha for Saindamarudu, and I was ready to gazette the decision. But now there is a request to divide the Kalmune into 4 local government bodies. I can't make that decision alone, as I would have to discuss with the local authorities in the area. I don't believe there is any basis for them to take legal action, but our citizens have the right to do so if they wish to.
Meanwhile, a Hartal campaign was worked off in the Kalmune area against separating Saindamarudu from the Kalmune municipality.
Now, the chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, issuing a release to the media, announced today that obstacles to hold the local government elections were removed when the Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government issued the Gazette on the number of councillors for local government bodies. Chairman Deshapriya says that the notice calling for nominations will be issued within the last week of this month. Accordingly, nominations will be accepted during a 3.5-day period from the 11th to the 20th of December this year. He also says that the much-delayed local government elections will be held on a date between the 20th and the 31st of January next year. He adds that the date for elections should not be a Sunday or a public holiday. Let's move on with the other local stories we have for you tonight. The debate of the Constitutional Assembly on the Steering Committee report for a new constitution was held for a third day today as well. All parties taking part in the debate discussed as to why their proposals and point of views are correct, but a unified front towards creating a new constitution was missing. Following a request made by the Leader of the House, the debate will be held tomorrow as well.
The first time in the history of the country that such an exercise is being undertaken. The totality of the people being involved. The Constitution will be framed so as to ensure and guarantee an undivided and indivisible Sri Lanka belonging to all the people of Sri Lanka.
They scream saying that Sinhalese Buddhists will be destroyed. We all are Sinhalese Buddhists. We do not want to destroy the unitary status of this country. Neither do we want to harm Sinhalese Buddhists. Now let me read the proposals from the joint opposition. We, the joint opposition, agree with the statement made by the Mahasangha voicing their opposition over the constitution that would destroy Buddhism and the unitary state. Not only you, I too agree on that. What I said was that I agree both our parties should discuss about this matter and come to a solution. It's fruitless to scream. Furthermore, the proposals say that a Sri Lanka where all ethnicities can live in prosperity should be created. So everyone here agrees on this. We too agree. Now let us all agree and do this right.
We
were very earnestly listening to the statement made by the Prime Minister. He presented to this House the proposals made by the joint opposition. If he can actually make known the proposals of the UNP in the same manner, I believe that would be useful as well. The question we have is that despite what the Prime Minister says, he will later say that the new constitution will be passed in Parliament. On that day, when the House begins its session at 10 in the morning, instead of this book, there will be another book. Inside that book is where you find the division of this country. In that book is where you find federal to become a reality. In that you will see a blue police for the south, a green police for the west, and a white police for the north. We are not saying not to abolish the executive. It should only be considered at a time when the power is devolved and when the parliamentary elections are held within the first past the post system. I believe that no party in this house can get a majority if the elections are held in that manner. Hold an urban council election and see. That is exactly what will happen to this parliament as well. This is the election manifest of the UNP. Show me as to where it's mentioned about a new constitution, let alone an amendment to the constitution. How can the people of this country have any faith on an exercise like this at a time where the government has completely failed to show any progress? This was not even there in the election manifest of President Maithripala Sirisena. But who's saying this? They are the people who were trying to support Mahinda Rajapakse to win. Whatever is mentioned in election manifest, this parliament has a duty to prepare a new constitution and present it to the people. Former President Mahinda Rajapakse alleges that a background for a religious war is being created by efforts to change the prominence given to Buddhism in the new constitution. The former president expressed these views attending a religious function held in Ududumbara, Kahataliyadda today. There were ethnic differences in this country as well as clashes and deaths. As I remember, the UNP was in power during most of these incidents. This government is taking measures to create a religious war by trying to create a new constitution and trying to change the foremost place for Buddhism. There is no use of including the word unitary in the constitution if the country is divided. This is not a country which will be deceived. We were told that the executive presidency will be abolished, but it's changed now that they say it's good. If the promise given to people are not fulfilled and if the Sangha Sabha of the tri-sectors oppose it and if the people of the country has opposed it, for whom is this constitution? They amended it as soon as they came to power, preventing Mahinda Rajapakse from contesting again. Age was changed from 32 to 35 because of Namal, and some say they brought in the rule of preventing dual citizens contesting in view of Gotabaya and Basil. Most people ask me if the constitution is changed because of us. And I reply, if not because of us, who else? Well, elsewhere, other politicians to express views on the proposed constitution today as well.
It is evident that this is not the draft presented in Parliament. Amendments will be made in the last 10 minutes. We state responsibly that this draft is based on the ideologies of the UNP and Ranil Wickremesinghe. The reason why we say this is because amendments proposed by President Maithripala Sirisena and the joint opposition are not included in the draft. They were instead classified as annexures. We accept that the people of the North need some form of devolution of power as they've been treated unfairly. However, we know that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, presented by late President J.R. Jayawardena, provides a solution for this. Why are they holding a debate in Parliament when President Maithripala Sirisena called for an all-party conference? This is because the President has accepted that this Constitution is wrong. This entire process is geared towards Ranil Wickremesinghe obtaining votes in the North during the upcoming presidential election in 2020. The new Constitution has taken away clauses mentioned in the current Constitution which discourage separatism. The current Constitution states that no provincial council or other authority may declare any part of the territory of Sri Lanka to be a separate state or advocate or take steps towards secession of any province or part thereof from Sri Lanka. This clause does not speak of measures a government must take should anyone attempt to act against this. This means the proposed constitution does not apply to the LTT or Vigneshwaran who supports individuals who promote separatism. It is only provincial councils and state institutions that cannot promote separatism. This is a constitution made by separatists for separatists in order to establish separatism.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back, everyone. President Maithripala Sirisena has instructed the relevant officials to forward proposals pertaining to the issues of some of the officers. The head of state gave these directives during a meeting held this morning.
A discussion was held on the issues faced by Samurdhi officers this morning at the Presidential Secretariat, which was attended by officials of several ministries. Salary anomalies of Samurdhi officers and giving permanent appointments in accordance with the contracts signed to officers absorbed topped the agenda. The President directed the proposals in regard be put to the Cabinet of Ministers. In addition, several other issues were also discussed, including the formulation of an appropriate promotion scheme. Meanwhile, the first draft of the report compiled by the Specialist Committee on Sustainable Development Goals was also presented to the head of state. This is the first occasion where a vision for a sustainable development is prepared in the country, and the draft of the report will be published as the National Sustainable Dialogue to seek public consensus.
The police have deployed 3 teams to investigate the shooting which occurred in Batapola, Alpitia last night. The shooting left 5 persons injured, including 4 members of the same family.
The shooting took place near the Iriya Gahadola ground in Batapola around 7:15 last night. It left a father and 3 children as well as the mechanic who came to repair their vehicle injured. Police said that 2 unidentified people who came in a scooter opened fire at the vehicle they were travelling in with a T-56 firearm. The victims were on the way to drop off the mechanic. 45-year-old Asanka Manuraj Soiza and his 3 children are being treated in the Balapitiya hospital. In the meantime, the 48-year-old mechanic Sembakutti Dushanta is being treated at Batapola hospital.
I was being given a lift after I repaired their vehicle. All at once, a huge noise came from outside. Then we saw someone shooting. The children started screaming and they were bleeding. Then I took the children out of the vehicle and ran to the back of the car. He ran away.
Police suspect the shooting was carried out by a group led by the underworld leader called Kosgoda Suji. Police said there is a connection between last night's incident and the shooting in Kosgoda on Sunday. The gunman last night had opened fire on a relative of underworld leader Tharaka, who is the main suspect in the quadruple murder in Kosgoda. Underworld leader Tharaka is reported to have connections with Makandure Madush, who is considered to be the godfather of the local underworld. Meanwhile, the funerals of the father and his 2 children who were killed in the shooting in Kosgoda will be conducted tomorrow.
Minister of Agriculture Duminda Dissanayake today donated 1 million rupees to the Little Hearts campaign, which caters to the treatment of children suffering from cardiac problems. The minister made the donation on behalf of his daughter.
The Little Hearts campaign was initiated under the guardianship of Manusat Derana to raise funds to expedite the construction of Lady Ridgeway Hospital's cardiac and critical care complex, which will allow the hospital to provide timely treatment to all of children in need. Thereby, Minister Duminda Dissanayake and his daughter donated 1 million rupees to the campaign.
In one of our feature stories for this week, sorcery and astrology are nothing new to the Sri Lankan public, and they are commonly visited avenues. Most people turn to astrology prior to marriage to seek compatibility of horoscopes, while sorcery is widely applied to dispel any possible ill effects experienced. Since both these things are largely driven by raw emotions and at times helplessness, some have exploited it to their advantage and have made a market for themselves by preying on people's desperations. First at 9 delved into explore and uncover the beliefs and practices involved with these unforeseen forces.
When people become desperate, they tend to find solace in sorcerers with expectations of instant solutions to their problems. This scenario provides a golden opportunity to those who await to make a quick buck by exploiting human weakness. Consultant psychiatrist Ramani Ratnavira spoke on the roots of sorcery in Sri Lanka as well as its effects.
This is very prevalent in Sri Lanka because in our culture and subculture, these beliefs have come from ancient times.
What do people go through when they become victims of such fraud? How does it affect their lives?
I have seen some patients. They are totally depressed. One lady came from Girul area. Her problem was very interesting. She told me that there was a bat coming to her home. She was worrying about why this bat was coming to her home. So she went to one of the astrologers. He has said a deceased person has come again. Then he gave a list. She has spent a lot of money on that, but that bat has come again and again. Gradually, this astrologer has stolen her money. She came to me. I did a small hypnotism and I convinced her that it is not someone who died earlier. It is just a bat. She was okay and she is living happily.
Our cameras caught a man who claimed to be a dub hand in sorcery and identifies himself as a Veda Mahatya. He sells talismans and enchanted oil to those who come seeking his help.
ඔගොල්ලෝ අකුලට ආවිලා එක ලෙඩක් කියන්න මුළු ඇඟේම ලෙඩ කියන්න එපා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තදබල මසනි විතරක් කියන්න. වෙදකම් කාර්යයක් දෙක පියා ගන්න ඕන ඕගොල්ලෝ. එදේසියෙන් දැන පාද ගන්න. ඔය ටික තමයි ඔයාලට කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. සුදු ටික මම කරන්න. මට ඔයාලා ආයෝක දුන්න නැත්නම් මම කොහොමද කරන්නේ? අනිත් එක තමයි හොඳට මත තියන්න මාත් එක්ක කතා කරද්දී කෙටියෙන් කතා කරන්න. ලෙඩක වෙදකම් කරලා එළියට දැම්මම නම් හොඳද නැද්ද කියන එක විතරයි මට ඕන දැනගන්න. නැතු දනවා කියන ඒවා එක ලෙඩක් නම් දැන් දනින් නම් ඊට ආයෙ වෙන ලෙඩවල් කියන්න දෙන්න එපා. ඒක නවත්තන්න වෙනවාමයි. යා. මේ ළමයි තුන වැඩි හිටිය එකයිනේ. මේ වැඩි හිටිය එක. ඔය කාටද? වැඩි හිටිය එක. වැඩි හිටිය එක. කැමති සුරේකට දාගන්න කපන්න කරන්න. තෙල් එක. ඒක ඔයාලට ඕන නම් අරතන් ඉන්න.
Speaking to First at 9, Reverend Father Dr. Daya Velikadarachi says fraudsters could adopt a religious form to exploit the unsuspecting public.
Our people have this tendency to follow these things as a cultural way. Now in Sri Lanka, some people want to get success in their business or in their work. So they try to address the needs of the people, taking some religious forms and also allowing the people to trust in them.
Ultimately, All this comes down to the simple equation of supply and demand. All along, as there are people willing to pay premiums in expectation of quick fixes to their problems, there will be people who are more than willing to oblige and exploit their weaknesses. If we are to advance as a society, we must not only move ahead with technological advances, but also our senses. Identifying the root cause of a problem may be more beneficial than relying on an alleged spirit to do the work for you.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone on to Business News. Sri Lanka must immediately address lack of clarity in investment policy in order to create a stable environment to lure in foreign investments. Speaking to First at 9, economist Dr. Kenneth De Silva pointed out that foremost attention should be given to capital formation within the country as businesses continue to be concerned with rising inflation.
According to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report for 2018, Sri Lanka is ranked at 111th place out of 190 economies, sliding one notch below last year's rank of 110.
There is a great lack of clarity as to which policy is now being followed by Sri Lanka. From a doing business index point of view, there are many criteria that go into the compilation of that particular index. Access to credit, electricity tariffs, and a couple of other key areas that they focus on in deriving this particular index. So Sri Lanka has to spend a lot of time to look at the key components that make business more attractive to bring their investment into Sri Lanka.
Dr. De Silva called for rising inflation to be addressed as a structural shift from domestic supplies to external-driven supplies continue to be seen. Inflation for October was at 7.8%, the record high since the change of index in January 2015.
What drives Sri Lankan inflation primarily is food, because Sri Lanka imports nearly $2 billion worth of food items. We import everything from oranges to apples to pears to grapes. We spend about $100 million on those 4 items alone. There is a serious issue in our supply side, because we have moved away from domestic supply to more external driven supply source. Now that has a duality in this. One is it shrinks further domestic supply. Secondly, we have an over reliance on our external supplies. And as a result of that, we find the exchange rate playing a huge factor. So the consumers bear that cost. And as a result of that, in the last 6 months to 7 months, we have seen inflation gradually notching up. Only then that we can see some kind of stability in the inflation targeting. Secondly, we have to look at supply side, domestic supply side.
Speaking on the upcoming budget, he pointed out that it should focus on capital formation and enterprise development while involving heavy public sector participation.
Over the last 10 years, our fixed capital formation has been around 24%, and particularly since 2010 to 2014, that ratio increased as a percentage of GDP to about 30% because the state-led infrastructure drive. So that helped increase investment into the country and also help the fixed capital formation to increase. Fixed capital formation plays a big role in driving economic activity and generating further revenue for the government. Right now, so that should be the government's focus in the 2018 budget, but there are a lot of challenges on that particular side of it because the government is looking for fiscal consolidation. We are looking at probably more contraction in the fiscal space. That means there is lesser investment that is going to take place from a capital formation point of view which is required. That will be a huge challenge for the government to see how we can have a budget that supports capital formation and enterprise growth.
Let's take you to the stock market now. The benchmark all share price index gained 6.84 points to close at 6,624.02, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 2.82 points to close at 3,902.45. The session's turnover was 999.7 million rupees, higher than this year's average daily turnover of 942.6 million rupees. Let's now cross over to Imesh Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Radiant Gems, Swarna Mahal Financial Services, Apico Insurance, Tess Agro and Central Finance, while the top 5 losers were PC Pharma, S&B Leasing Non-Voting, Convenience Food, Derana's and Haley's Fabric. Today's foreign purchases were 440.77 million rupees and foreign sales were 165.24 million rupees.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Other Derana 24/7.
On to international news now. New Yorkers yesterday faced the deadliest terrorist attack since the 9/11 attacks in 2001 after a 29-year-old individual drove into a cycle path in Lower Manhattan, killing 8 and injuring at least 11 others. International media reported that the attacker drove a rented truck into a cycle path near the World Trade Center and crashed the vehicle into a school bus. As per state law enforcement sources, the attacker is identified as an Uzbek immigrant named Saifullah Saipov. First at 9's Chief International Affairs Analyst Anura Beherat is in New York and she picks up the story for us tonight.
The terrorist attack that took place in New York City Tuesday afternoon took place at about 3:05 p.m. in Lower Manhattan in a neighborhood known as Tribeca. It is the first terrorist attack since 9/11 in 2001, and ironically, it has taken place in the exact same neighborhood as 9/11, being so close to the World Trade Center. In fact, both my parents and I work in this particular neighborhood while I wasn't there at that particular moment. My mother, in fact, was in the area and heard the gunshots from the building that she was at. So it's a little bit unnerving to know that it could have very well been one of us walking down that street and being victimized by this terrorist attack. But moving forward, the attacker is in custody and authorities are saying that there doesn't seem to be an ongoing threat. So, tomorrow morning we expect, although the city might have a higher threat level, we do expect, offices to be open and to be going into work just as any other day. I think the unfortunate reality is that this technique of using vehicles for terror attacks is, becoming a somewhat commonplace in the U.S. now. So, while it is a bit of a shock, things just sort of continue to move forward.
On to sports now. The annual Dialogue Cricket Awards was held yesterday at Water's Edge under the patronage of Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara and the former world-winning Indian captain, legendary Kapil Dev.
The annual Dialogue Cricket Awards ceremony was held last evening in partnership with Sri Lanka Cricket. Left-arm spinner Rangana Herath was crowned the Dialogue Cricketer of the Year as well as Test Bowler of the Year for his impressive run from June 2016 to June 2017. Dilrwan Pereira was named the Test All-Rounder of the Year, while Dhananjay De Silva was declared the Test Batsman of the Year. Meanwhile, Kusal Mendis bagged the award for the ODI Batsman of the Year, with Suranga Lakmal claiming the ODI Bowler of the Year award. Clinching the highest number of awards, Asela Gunaratne was named the T20 Batsman of the Year, All-Rounder of the Year in both T20s and ODIs, in addition to Most Promising Cricketer of the Year. Lasith Malinga was also among the awards as he clinched the title of the T20 Bowler of the Year. Chamari Atapattu meanwhile was crowned as the Dialogue Women's Cricketer of the Year.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, let's now cross over to Katharina Chang at the Other Derana Weather Centre with the forecast for the next 24 hours.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, if we take a look at the map, we can expect the temperatures to vary between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius over the course of the next 24 hours. Now, a low pressure zone may develop over the course of the day, particularly in the eastern as well as the northwestern part of the island. This may lead to some thunder showers in the northern region of the island, particularly in the Trincomalee as well as the Batticaloa and Anuradhapura area. Moving downwards, there may be some thunder showers in the Kandy area. That is it from the weather center tonight, but let's now take a look at your city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the beautiful coastal city of Mathura, where iconic sights were captured from above. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.